Hi, and welcome to podcast number 2. I'm really excited today to be joined in the virtual studio by Mike Clegg. And Mike joins the Lit Within team with a really kind of rich and varied career in terms of elite performance in sport and strength and conditioning. So really getting underway as a United trainee, Man United trainee in 1993, before then getting the first team from 96 till 2002, going on to Sunderland as a strength and conditioning coach under Roy Keane. And, you know, that experience brings a huge value, I think, to a lot of people out there. So welcome, Mike. It's really great that you can join me here.
Yeah, well, thank you, Michael. And I'm really excited to be a part of the Lit Within team. And I'm excited to see the questions you have for us and helping people achieve their goals on the journey they have themselves.
Yeah, awesome. So I think I'm wondering what will be burning on most people's lips. And I guess the thing is around how can they optimize, do you think? What's missing for people about how to optimize whatever it is they're trying to do, whether that's simply getting fitter and healthier or becoming the sort of the best that they can be in terms of achieving their performance potential?
I think a lot of the time there's that much information out there. It's actually hard to understand which sort of pathway to follow. You know, you can look at all different types of scenarios. You know, there's different fads in the nutrition side. There's different ways of looking at your exercise plans. But ultimately, it comes down to yourself and what you want to achieve. So for me, I always try and think about reverse engineering what you actually want. You know, if you start with the end goal, so maybe that is a certain way you want to look. Maybe that is a certain performance goal you want to achieve. And then look at the time span between now and then and reverse engineer it and sort of split it down into sections and segments of time. So therefore you give yourself clear and achievable markers to be able to aim for. And therefore you're not trying to achieve too much too soon, but also it gives you a good pathway and a good map of the journey ahead.
Yeah, I think for me, that's probably the classic mistake that a lot of people make is maybe expectations set too high to get too much too soon. And then it's easy to sort of fall back into old habits or think it's not working. So do you have a kind of a way to deliver results quickly that can kind of bolster people in thinking, yeah, this is the right direction? Or is it more about education and saying, no, look, this is a period of time. Let's not even look at it until we're X weeks in or months in, whatever it might be.
I think it's very important to have clear goals. It's the combination of doing exercise and nutrition and also understanding the pathway, what your mind has to go through. You know, there's going to be hiccups along the way, but if you have a strong belief in what you're doing, if you're trying to create a change or adaptation within the system, and you want to do it in a fun way, an exciting way, something which is variable, but something which has concrete science and evidence base behind it. So for me, it's dependent on the person, and it always depends on what your goals are and what equipment you have, how long you have, and what is the most efficient way to get there. So again, it's very individualized. It's too easy just to throw a blanket statement out there. But we do know that the first step into the gym is sometimes the hardest, but when you do it, you feel the best. And once you do it once, you've got more chance of doing it again and again and again, because you feel amazing after your first session. As long as you don't do too much, you don't create loads and loads of DOMs, you actually get the bug and it almost becomes an addiction. Why not get an exercise addiction, so to speak, aiming to achieve a long-term goal rather than all them other addictions which can lead to, you know, things which are not really very nice.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's interesting you're saying about getting in the gym, because how much work should be gym work versus how much should be work that you can do maybe without equipment or, you know, in your own time over the park or wherever you might go for a run or whatever nature's around you?
Yeah, again, I suppose it's what is your long-term goal. If you want to become, you know, a young athlete who's a swimmer, you know, probably 80% of the time will be in the pool and 20% will be in the gym. If you're looking for long-term fitness and you want to have a great time with your grandchildren, you want to be outside walking and taking in nature. So again, it all depends on what your actual goal is. For me, as a strength and conditioning coach in the past for Sunderland, you would probably say 60% of the time was outside on the football pitch, but 40% of the time was in the gym. Whether that's doing some injury prevention work, whether it's working on your recovery, whether you're inside the gym doing some strength and power, or it might be even a case of just going in there and just relaxing and understanding how to get the body into a state of calmness, whether that's using the cryotherapy chamber or just in the swimming pools, using that as a recovery modality. So again, for me, it's always about what is your end goal and how do you reverse engineer that to help you to understand the process moving forward.
Great. And I think what a lot of people are interested in is how this kind of process was evolved or developed. Because it's a fascinating story of learning growing up with your father and the guys he worked with and how this was kind of all pulled together. So it isn't something that's kind of been developed recently. There's a huge amount of research and with the very top athletes as well. So maybe if you could speak a little bit about that, I think people would find that interesting.
Yeah, I suppose my history, I was lucky enough to always be in a family which was to do with health and well-being. My father opened the gym when I was 6 years old. He used to take me to the local Taekwondo club, and within that he saw that these guys were very fast, very flexible, but also they needed a certain amount of strength. And he decided to open his first gym. And I was lucky enough, as my father progressed regarding the courses he took, he actually took a course in Olympic lifting. And I started competing at Olympic lifting when I was 13, 14 years old. I went to the British Championships when I was under 15s, under 16s, and I did reasonably well. I come third in the national championships twice. And my younger brothers ended up taking that even further, going to the Commonwealth Games and going to the World Championships. My brother Sean, he went to the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow. But for me as an athlete, moving on, you know, that the Olympic lifting sets you up to be able to produce as much force and as much power possible in an athletic position. So when I first got recognised at Man United to come in for a trial, then ultimately signing on for that club, they was really interested in how I could produce fast speeds and really jump high, which was quite extraordinary at that moment in time for that level of football player. And from that, my father got a bit of recognition. And over the years now, strength and conditioning, sports science is standard in most sports, and especially in football. It's throughout all the different levels, from the first team all the way down to the youth team. But it was quite new back then. And my father, who I work very close with now also, and he's also trained Lewis over the years, he became the head physical coach at Man United from the year 2000 to 2010. And through that time, he worked with the likes of Roy Keane, Cristiano Ronaldo, and all the other class of 1992. So that sort of richness for me to learn from my father was ultimately what I took to Sunderland Football Club with Roy Keane, when Roy Keane became the manager there in 2006. And I spent the last 12 years with about 10 different managers, including the likes of Sam Allardyce, Paolo Di Canio, Dick Advocaat, Martin O'Neill, and many others, learning the trade. And now it's great that I've got this practical understanding. I've done a master's degree in strength and conditioning. I understand about overall health and well-being. And this is what I want to do now as my sort of third career, is to proliferate this information, this sort of golden thread of training applications to the general public, because I know there's many people out there get confused, and hopefully with this Lit Within system, what we developed, it's something where we can really aid people to achieve their goals.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a very exciting time to be able to pull all this together and draw on everybody's experience and resources and knowledge to be able to deliver the very best for people. And I think this is, for me, the one thing that's missing is that more holistic approach. You know, when people talk about how to be your best, a lot of the times I've certainly found that it can be things, as they call it, off the pitch that's causing the issues on the pitch. And I guess that's the same in training scenarios as well. When people are trying to put in their best, sometimes that mindset can be holding them back from whatever it is of doing it. Because I think that's sometimes what separates people. I remember a quote, I think it was about Ronaldo, and they said that what was different was when he said, "Oh, I'm going to be the best," he kind of meant it. People around him knew the intent behind it. It wasn't just someone who's saying something of, yeah, I'm going to do this, a bravado, if you like. So that's quite different. So I think what do you think will be the first kind of 2 or 3 key bullet points are for people to get started in improving their own outcomes from wherever they're at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, you got to do it, for me, like a self-assessment, understand where they are on different parameters. You know, what's the flexibility like? What's the endurance levels like? What's the strength like? Then from that, understand what they want to achieve long term, whether it's body adaptation, whether it's a certain sporting feat. But for me, that first step into the gym is always very important. It's always a case of whether it's in the gym, whether it's going out running, whether it's going out cycling. It's just to get them endorphins around the body, get them to get blood circulatory around the system, release their endorphins, like I've said. And again, it's a simple process that once you start enjoying doing something, you want to do something more. Once you understand what makes you tick, whether it's doing something very natural, calisthenics, whether it's going walking and hiking, whether it's actually getting into the gym and training really hard, being a powerlifter. We had 3 or 4 world champion powerlifters at our gym, and they love doing that. And each individual has something what you're quite good at, you sort of gravitate to. So again, for me, it's very simple. What is it you want to achieve? And we can certainly assist in making sure you achieve your goals.
Yeah, it's funny when I hear you talking about the simplicity behind it there. I think it's quite hard to imagine how it can seem so complex, because for a lot of people, there's plenty of searching going on, of looking for the right thing, watching videos, trying to get ideas or achieve a breakthrough of some kind. And it's almost, there's maybe a lack of understanding that it really can be as simple as what you're saying.
Yeah, well, what I tend to do when I work with the younger players, and this is what I will do again with this system, is first of all, can you move correctly? Have you got the simple movement fundamental patterns which can help you to assist further down the road where you're doing more explosive actions? Can you squat? Can you lunge? Can you pull? Can you push? Can you walk? Can you run? And can you rotate? And these simple fundamental movement patterns which we've been given or blessed with as a species, unfortunately because of lifestyle, put it this way: for the first two years, as a father, you have children, and all you want them to be able to do is move and to be able to crawl and then walk. And as soon as they get to 2, until about 18, all you want to do is keep them still. So when they wake up in the morning, you take them to the table and they sat in a flex position. And then you take them in the car in a flex position. Then they're at school in a flex position. Then they come home and they might watch TV or have the dinner in a flex position. Where really, we're born in this fetus state, which is very flexed. And our bodies, our human beings, and our brain was created for movement. We want to get into an extended positions. And even when you extend yourselves, that helps to increase your circulatory system, helps to increase the endorphins and the actual neurochemicals into the system. But instead we become very flexed in this sort of modern society. So for myself, just get out of this flex position. I'd start thinking about having desks which are stood up. I'll be thinking about using Fitbits or technology to buzz you every 40, 50 minutes to go and do some movement. The more movement, the better, and that will ultimately help you. Simple lifestyle factors or changes like that can really make a big difference, because we all know if you sat in front of a computer screen all day, then you get home, you're actually shattered. Even though you've burnt no calories, you've done no movement, your body's again into a flex position, and then this starts to create chronic issues, bad posture, bad positioning, incorrect position for your core. People get bad backs. So if you look at the major issues which are blighting the entire Western world, it's a bad back, bad posture, type 2 diabetes, obesity, mental health issues, and all these can be solved by simple little steps, by moving more, eating better, and having the right mindset. So for me, yeah, it's simple, but it's difficult. It's as simple as that. If I said to anybody, who's out of shape, well, it's easy to get in shape because you need to do A, B, C, and D. First of all, you've got to get over the mindset barrier. And then once you get into the physical activity, then you want to have a program what is right, individualized for yourself. And once you get over that and you start increasing the nutrition, then you can start to achieve your goals, whatever they might be.
Fabulous. Yeah, it's great to see that you're talking about it so clearly, and starting from a very solid mindset foundation of being able to achieve all these things and making common sense, so you make time for them. So thanks so much for joining me on the podcast today. It's been really, really great chatting to you and super informative. So I'm sure people are going to get a lot out of listening to it. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Michael.